Bueno, pues muchas gracias, David, por invitarme.
Well, thank you very much, David, for inviting me to this space. I think that these spaces are key to make facility management evolve, where all the industry stakeholders can meet together, researchers, customers, suppliers, you name it, and we can all together share experiences, ideas, or even wishes in order to forge the future of the sector. Today I wanted to speak this FM professionals environment, how these times have changed, that we know that it's here to stay, wants us to build flexible models in our departments. I didn't want to approach this topic from theory, from FM models. It would be very interesting too, but as far as I've been invited as an end customer, I think it's worth it to share the daily experience of an FM department. And I'm not going to speak about a specific case study. I want to bring ideas and examples that I've gone through during these last years where the change has been getting faster, and I've been living this change at different companies. Right now, I'm working at the FM Real Estate and Global Department of Just Eat Takeaway. That is a delivery platform of food delivery. And as you know, in tech companies, change is happens every single day. I'm in the Southern Europe region, Spain, Italy, Slovakia, Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, and Israel, like in Eurovision. And, thank you. And I can tell you that we've grown a lot in the last years and very fast. So in the last year, just in my region, we've opened 7 offices between acquisitions, relocations, etc. So, with all these openings, you will understand that there have been many changes in how we manage services and the workspaces, the real estate portfolio, and the team that makes all this come true. And these 4 topics, I would like to focus on these 4 topics. If we speak about changes in the last years, we have to mention the pandemic. We've all seen the changes that it has generated. And the point that we would be better afterwards, we've seen that we are not, but we are different. And a change that I would like to highlight is that the facilities department became visible. I'm sure that everybody, each and one of you, were at some response group, crisis group, or with the WhatsApp group. And they even wanted to see the cleaning stuff. Because, well, this is what they were asking us for, but the other departments didn't know what we were doing, besides solving problems in a very quick way. FM is a sector where knowledge is key. I mean, we are not just operational. We are a department that, in line with the company goals, we can generate value. And something that we facilitate to the companies is to provide them with the necessary environment so that they can develop the business as it changes. Regarding services, we manage a very wide range of services that make it possible that our colleagues can go on with their activity that changes depending on what the business needs. And of course it has to, these services have to change in terms of how they are provided, but the quality doesn't have to change. The quality that we have defined so that the business can happen. So it's our turn. We have to fix that level, and we have to touch this and that in order to guarantee that these changes do not affect the defined level to support the business. We are some kind of, I would say, some kind of a damper. And for that we have different tools. Here we can find the results-driven contracts. This is not something new, but it's true that for some volumes they are not so usual. And this is a very useful support when adapting the service. With traditional contracts we can also work in order to keep the level, although we have changes, but we are working in every single tool that we have thanks to a results-driven contract. We have to measure that result with this kind of contract, and this measurement makes every single part measure this in a structured way and to make a more efficient follow-up of the service. And not only that, because if we are measuring, we are not only making a follow-up of what has been implemented, but we are taking an additional leap towards constant improvement. And in order to adapt with contract-driven results or traditional contracts, we need to have experienced and proactive partners that are really willing to do things well. As a customer, unfortunately, we have many, but we need to work in creating this relationship in which both parts give the best of themselves in order to get the best service. Of course, this is a results-driven contract because they are the ones that are defining what they need to get to the final goal. So the ones of you that work on retail, maybe you have to adapt every service on a single day, on a daily basis. For example, cleaning. For example, it depends on, there are things that depend on the weather, depends on the partner, and it's key that the partner that we have has the resources that they need in order to solve the situation. And without that, we also need resources and productivity of our partners in order to adapt services to the changing needs of the business. So regarding technology, I'm not going to speak about very advanced things because I think that we need to guarantee the basic things, and I'm sure that here there are more than one. There's more than one person that can that needs to or that can't set different zones in their business, in their building, to adapt to the different situations because they either don't have this possibility or maybe because the BMS is not perfectly set up. So let's get started by having the system, and we can include sensor in bathrooms in order to adapt the cleaning frequencies, or on desks to see live if the space is occupied or not. And as we've seen with Sergio in the European project that is presented, there are companies that are more familiar with this and others that are less. Maybe they are looking for technology that have been more tested to implement them easily. But we need customers that take more risks, that enjoy testing new technology, so that we can all enjoy them subsequently. And we need to compile and analyze data in order to adapt the service in an efficient way. On the one hand, not to be able to make a follow-up of what has been implemented, as I've said before, to measure, because if we don't measure, we will be guided by feelings that maybe bring us to make decisions that are wrong. And on the other side, data in order to be able to identify trends, and this way to foresee changes, as Julia has said on her presentation. At a data center, for example, that's critical, but in the rest of buildings, we also need to foresee that change and to advance to it so that the impact it has does not affect the desired level that we have defined. And as happens with data, we need to be especially careful when defining what piece of information, which data we need in order to deep dive in them. It's key to define what we want to measure in order to be able to compile and analyze just what is going to help us make decisions. As I said before regarding the pandemic, we are not better, but we are different. We are not the same that were locked down at home in March 2020 and had the chance of, well, we created our workspace at home. Now, society in general has accepted that office work can be done remotely. It's a very typical question when you go to an interview, and it is something that is taken into account when looking for a job. So for us as facility management, we've amplified the need not only of making buildings work, but also to make the impact of space in the employees' experience as a differential element when attracting and retaining talent. We need to offer space and services that improve the experience that our colleagues have when working from home. We need to foster what is impossible to have it at home, that information exchange, that meeting point creation, relationship creation, everything that happens at the office that supports personal and professional development of the users. For this, we have the chance of offering different spaces for the different activities that happen during the day. We can have concentration spaces, meeting rooms with different characteristics, booths for telephone calls, improvised video calls, and a canteen area, a bar, a cafeteria where we can hang out with people that we haven't scheduled. You don't have a 9 to 10 meeting on Teams or Zoom, and you find them there. They belong to other departments, and you get information that you couldn't find otherwise. There are things that you can only come across when you are having a coffee. And we can foster these activities in the spaces we manage, setting or organizing breakfasts, special meals, meetings by departments, and that change is constant. It's not that we need a different space to the one that we needed some years ago. Changes are going by and need to support the business from the workspace. So, as facility department, we need to be especially aware of how needs of our colleagues are changing. We need to identify how we can cover these needs. For this, we need spaces that favor change, that we can develop these changes, we can implement them with furniture relocation or with simple interventions that do not require big investments. For that, we need a flexible space. And we are creating a relationship with the space, and we need to give a meaning. From a point of view, this meaning needs to have two variants. Tailoring meaning that supports the well-being of our colleagues, that favors interaction among people that I've already mentioned, and also the meaning that makes out of this space a tool to create the culture of the company. I used to work for IKEA, and IKEA does this very good. Well, of course, they do it very good. They deal with furniture and decoration. If they didn't do that well, we would have a problem. I used to travel a lot, and the fact of traveling to any country, although it was strange for me, I know that when I was at the office, I would feel at home. I could print from every single office. I knew what I was going to find, but these spaces conveyed the values that the company had. A very clear example is that in IKEA, nobody has an office, and this highlights how simple this company is from this point of view. And in this case, just to take away is an opportunity. We've grown a lot in the last years and quite fast. And there have been different mergers, acquisitions, so every office is quite different. Now we are working on a design playbook that will make that not only corporate image is the same in every office, but we are also going to define these design decisions that show our values. In this case, would be lead, deliver, and care. And where maybe it is a little bit more difficult to adapt to this change of these four topics that I've mentioned would be in the real estate area. If we are, for example, tackling with rented spaces, hybrid work has a direct impact, and it means that we won't be using the whole space that we have rented, and that's a saving opportunity that is more than obvious for the for the management bodies. We have the opportunity of being visible and to put the focus on the fact that the real estate and the FM departments can contribute to the company, but we're finding quite many obstacles, and I would like to highlight two. First of all, in order to accomplish this space reduction, it's necessary to implement a shared desk system, and this is difficult. It's difficult to believe that we can generate this personal relationship with space that I've mentioned before without having our own desk with our pictures, our memories. And it's difficult that people that have an assigned office have to think about booking an office in order to prevent them from being empty the days that they are not coming along. I think that they are the most inefficient spaces. Normally, people that have an assigned office don't come along every day, either because they're working hybridly or maybe they're on travel. So we need to have more or less difficult conversations to define whether the company is the kind of company that considers space a status symbol and a talent retention symptom, or maybe they consider that these managers can get adapted to this change. Based on the level of flexibility that the company accepts when sharing desks and offices, we will get more or less efficiencies in the necessary square meters that we would need. And the second point is that if we've drawn the conclusion that we need less square meters, what are we going to do? If we have a 5 or 10 years rental, how can we reduce our square meters without paying fines and without and saving money? I mean, so in the post-pandemic era, we've learned that we need to take this into account when negotiating rentals, and we need to leave the door open to options like, for example, to return part of the surface to the lessor, or to sublease part of the surface that we are not using. But on the other side, we need flexibility, and we are implementing hybrid work. We need less square meters, but maybe in the future we will grow and we will need more space. What can we do then? There are options, for example, to sublease the part that we are not using to flexible work operator. And in the future, we can be both the lessor and the partner, so paying for use different desks or meeting rooms, etc. And this way we could either grow or decrease without having great commitments over time. All this that I've mentioned has to be implemented with teams that can adapt themselves to every single change that we are receiving. They are teams that can adjust the way they work in order to adapt to the changing needs of the business. We need teams that are open to change, and not only open, but all that makes it exciting to work with these constant changes. But besides motivation, we need to develop ourselves in order to professionalize our department, because sometimes it's a common idea, the fact that anybody can do the FM work. And it depends on us showing that our sector is a specialized sector that creates knowledge. We have tools, for example, this conference, and we have the ISO rules and European rules, as Sean Gibbons said before. And we need to have well-trained teams that can speak in the business language. I think that we tend to have a highly specialized knowledge, and that maybe they are not giving so much importance to this detail. We need the teams to get out of this detail and to present their activity focused on the point of view that the management teams need at different companies, to know where the business is going to in order to pick the key data that are going to be shared and to propose actions that support the business goals. This will make it possible for us to be heard and to consider what we give to the companies, and in order to build our position in the organizations, to be perceived as professionals that not only solve problems but also contribute value. So if the pandemic made us visible, now we have to keep visible, supporting the organization's needs and adapting to the change. And that's it. Thank you.